Hello dear students, today we'll continue discussing part 2 of the contents of the Dead Man's Pocket written by Jack Finney. In the previous presentation we stopped at that part that Tom reaches his window and he realizes that it is closed. He has slammed itself shut and he has no way to open it from the outside. In despair, he stares into the haven of his living room. First, he slams the window with his hand. Nothing happens. Then carefully he slides off his shoe and throws it at the glass. Also, it doesn't work. He imagines waiting until Claire is back from the movie. If she sees both features, she will be gone at least for 3 hours. So he looks at his watch. Claire left 8 minutes ago, and Tom's legs are very tired. Looking around, Tom sees there are plenty of people home in the apartment across the street. He finds a sheaf of old papers in his coat pocket and a box of matches. He lights the papers and fires one by one, hoping to catch someone's attention. No one seems to notice or care about his plight. Then, one by one, he drops the coins in his pockets to the street below. No one looks up. Here he realizes that if he dies, his death will become a mystery. The window is closed, so no one will understand why or from where he fell. He realizes how little he has gotten out of his life, how much more time he might have spent with his wife Claire, how many hours he has spent on the little sheet of paper that got him into his current predicament. Then, knowing that this is his last chance, he punches through the glass, shouting his wife's name as he does so. He falls forward and climbs through the window. Then he pulls out the crumpled paper and lays it on the desk, setting a pencil on top of it to weight it down. He grabs his top coat and prepares to head out the door to meet Claire at the movie. As he opens the door, another current of warm air comes in from the hallway. He turns to see the pencil rolling off the desk and the paper again flying through the window. This time he laughs and shuts the door behind him. So as you can see, Contents of the Dead Man's Pocket deals with familiar themes for Finney, like the struggle against time and the need to make the most of our brief lives. The story is notable for its suspenseful narration and the changing characterization of Tom Beneke. And now let's deal with the plot. In the exposition, we have Tom Beneke begins preparing a presentation for work. In the rising action, Tom's wife Claire goes to the movie alone. A yellow piece of paper blows out of the window onto the ledge. Tom steps out onto the ledge to retrieve it back. The window closes, trapping Tom on the ledge. Tom attempts to call attention to his situation. He becomes convinced that he will fall to his death. Then he decides to try to save himself. Now, the climax comes when Tom shatters his apartment window with his fist. The following action when Tom re-enters his apartment and he decides to join his wife at the movie. And finally, the resolution happens when Tom laughs when the yellow paper blows out the window again. One of the themes in this selection is priorities and the dangers of over-ambitiousness. Contents of the Dead Man's Pocket is above all a meditation on life's priorities. Tom Beneke has an adequate job, a decent home, and a loving marriage. While his role as breadwinner justifies a desire to improve his and Claire's lives, he lacks a sense of proportion in how to go about it. His obsession with success at his job causes him to neglect his relationship with his wife and forgo simple pleasures such as going to the movie. Instead, he lets his drive for material gain override all else, placing himself in peril by going out onto the ledge to retrieve his valuable notes. By the end of the story, after nearly losing his life, prompts him to walk at what is important in it. Tom has come to the realization that while material comfort is important, there are intangible aspects of life that must be tended to as well. Another theme which we see here is nature of happiness. Jack Finney portrays Tom as a decent man in a loving marriage, with the lack of awareness of what leads to happiness that cripples his capacity to enjoy what he has. Tom sees being happy only in terms of material security, which he had already possessed to a reasonable degree, while failing to appreciate it, and he fails to understand the happiness comes more from one's approach to life than from the things one has. His wife Claire has a better understanding of the idea, pointing out to him that he works too much and too hard. She seems reluctant to pursue the matter to the point of conflict, however, and relents when Tom insists on pursuing his own approach. Claire understands that mostly simple things bring true happiness and compromises by going to the movie alone when she would rather Tom accompany her. By the story's end, Tom realizes that Claire's viewpoint is the correct one. Crying out her name as he punches his way through the apartment window to safety, he immediately goes to find her at the movie theater. The reader can assume that it will be the first of many evenings the two of them spend together.